Hello students, today we'll be introducing motivation and leadership. Objectives. At the end of the session, you should be able to define motivation, state the various theories of motivation, enumerate the importance of motivation, cite the types of motivation, enumerate leadership and its types, list the differences between leadership and management. Dear students, in this session, we are going to discuss about motivation, its related theories, its importance, and its types. We shall also discuss about the leadership process, its types, and also list the difference between leadership and management. Let's go on to the introduction. Many people know motivation as a driving force behind an action. This is probably the simplest explanation about motivation. Motivation can be considered as a state of receiving encouragement to perform a task. There is no one thing that motivates people to perform a certain action. Motivation is an important tool that is often underutilized by managers in today's workplace. Managers use motivation in the workplace to inspire people to work, both individually and in groups, to produce the best results for business in the most efficient and effective manner. It was once assumed that motivation had to be generated from the outside, but it is now understood that each individual has his own set of motivation forces. It is the duty of the manager to carefully identify and address these motivating forces. People are different, so it follows that their motivations have to be different. Let's have a more detailed view about motivation further in this session. Motivation is one of the most important elements of directing. Issuance of proper instructions or orders does not necessarily ensure that they will be properly carried out. It requires manager to inspire or induce the employees to act and get the expected result. This is called motivation. It is a force that inspires a person at work to intensify his willingness to use the best of his capability for achievement of specific objectives. It may be in the form of incentives like financial, such as bonus, commission, etc., or non-financial, such as appreciation, growth, etc., or it could be positive or negative. Basically, motivation is directed towards goals and prompt people to act. Now let's get on to the importance of motivation. While performing a job, two things are required: the ability to work and the willingness to work. Without willingness to work, ability to work cannot produce results. The importance of motivation lies in converting this ability to work into willingness to work. Performance depends on ability as well as willingness, and willingness depends on motivation. Thus, motivation is a key element in directing people to do the job. Some of the other benefits of motivation are as follows. With proper motivation, there can be maximum utilization of factors of production like men, money, material, etc. If employees are motivated, it will reduce employee turnover and absenteeism. It also fosters a sense of belongingness among the employees towards the organization and also improves their morale. It helps in reducing the number of complaints and grievances. The wastage and the accident rate also comes down with proper motivational techniques. Management can attract competent and best quality employees. Theories of motivation. Let's have a detailed knowledge about prominent theory of motivation. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In a hierarchy of motives, the most influential motive is seen as enjoying the most dominant position, and so on through the entire list. The hierarchy of needs proposed by Abraham H. Maslow is perhaps the best known and is a good guide to general behavior. Maslow classified needs into 5 groupings, ranking in order of importance from low level biogenic needs to higher level psychogenic needs. He also suggested the degree to which each would influence human behavior. According to this scheme, individuals strive to fulfill lower level needs first before higher level needs become active. The lowest level unfulfilled need of an individual serves to motivate his or her behavior. When this need is fairly satisfied, a new higher order need becomes active and motivates the individual. If a lower order need again becomes active due to renewed deprivation, it may temporarily become more active again. Physiological needs. According to Maslow, the first and most basic of needs is physiological. These needs are essential to sustain biological life and include air, water, food, shelter, clothing, and sex, all the primary or biogenic needs. Physiological needs are very potent when they are chronically unfulfilled. Safety needs. After physiological needs, safety and security needs acquire the driving force and influence an individual's behavior. These needs are concerned with much more than only physical safety and health. They include routine, familiarity, security, certainty, and stability, etc. For example, labor unions in India provide members security of employment. Social needs. The third level, social needs include love, affection, acceptance, belonging, and friendship, etc. By and large, humans are social creatures and need warm and satisfying human relationships with others. For example, all personal care products like cosmetics, mouthwash, shaving creams, etc. are purchased to satisfy social needs. Ego or esteem needs. The fourth level is concerned with the ego needs. These needs include reputation, prestige, status, self-esteem, success and independence, etc. Many ads of ego-intensive products emphasize ego appeals such as expensive watches, jewelry and designer dresses, etc. The term conspicuous consumption is related to ego needs. It describes consumer purchases motivated to some extent by the desire to show the others just how successful one is. Self-actualization needs. Maslow believed that most people are unable to satisfy their ego needs sufficiently and as a result of this are unable to move to the fifth and the last level. Self-actualization refers to a person's desire to achieve or become what one is capable of. People express this need in different ways. The only common thing is that they all seem to be striving for excellence in whatever they are doing. They work single-mindedly for years to achieve what they want. For example, a young person may want to make it to the Olympics and as a result may strive hard for years to be the best in his field. A major drawback of Maslow's theory is that it cannot be empirically tested. It cannot help gauge how satisfied a need should before the next need in the hierarchy becomes functional. Nevertheless, it is a useful tool in comprehending consumer motivations and is also applicable to marketing as consumer goods usually are aimed at satisfying some level of the need hierarchy. Motivating employees. After learning about the importance of motivation in directing, you must also be wondering as to what is normally done to motivate the employees. Actually, there is no hard and fast rule of motivating individuals in a specified way. Not all individuals are motivated in the same way. It may vary from individual to individual. However, on the basis of a lot of research done in the field of motivation, the following must be kept in mind while motivating. Each employee has some needs of his own that he wants to fulfill. While directing, it is essential to ensure that any of the unfulfilled need of the individual is being taken care of. Here we must understand what is the need. A need is a feeling of lack of something, and every person tries to take care of that feeling by satisfying or fulfilling what he lacks. For example, when you are hungry, you eat food to satisfy the lack of food. So here hunger is your need. The needs of the individuals differ from person to person. However, there are certain common needs which are known to exist in most cases. Managers have thus to understand the needs and desires of subordinates and decide how to motivate them. The knowledge of the different types of need enables a manager to adopt different ways to motivate individuals depending upon which need is unsatisfied for the individual. For example, a person whose physiological needs are not fulfilled may be motivated to work with the promise of increase in pay, whereas another person may be motivated if he is given a challenging job to perform regardless of the pay. In fact, many other approaches have been developed for motivation. But in simple terms, as stated earlier, it is usually in the form of incentives. Not only that, certain factors or job conditions that exist in organization like recognition of work, advancement in career challenging, nature of the work, etc. also motivate the employees. Now let's discuss about the types of motivation. There are many types of motivation. Motivational techniques have been experienced by every person from birth. We learn behavior through motivation. We live our whole lives because of the motivation. The question that remains, however, is this: what motivation should a person have? This is important because our motivation decides our behavior. Some types of motivation are more effective than the others. However, the perfect motivation for you can only be decided by one person, and that's you. Let's go through some kinds of motivation. Achievement. This is the motivation of a person to attain goals. The longing of achievement is inherent in every man, but not all persons look to achievement as their motivation. They are motivated by a goal. In order to attain that goal, they are willing to go as far as possible. The complexity of the goal is determined by a person's perception. To us, the terms simple and complex are purely relative. What one person thinks is an easy goal to accomplish may seem to be impossible to another person. However, if your motivation is achievement, you will find that your goals will grow increasingly complex as time goes by. Second is socialization. Some people consider socialization to be their main motivation for actions. This is especially evident in the situation of peer pressure. Some people are willing to do anything to be treated as an equal within a group structure. The idea of being accepted among a group of people is their motivation for doing certain things. Incentive motivation. This motivation involves rewards. People who believe that they will receive rewards for doing something are motivated to do everything they can to reach a certain goal. While achievement motivation is focused on the goal itself, incentive motivation is driven by the fact that the goal will give people benefits. Incentive motivation is used in companies through bonuses and other types of compensation for additional work. By offering incentives, companies hope to raise productivity and motivate their employees to work harder. Fear motivation. When incentives do not work, people often turn to fear and punishment as the next tool. Fear motivation involves pointing out various consequences if someone does not follow a set of prescribed behavior. This is often seen in companies as working hand in hand with the incentive motivation. Workers are often faced with the reward and punishment system wherein they are given incentives if they accomplish a certain goal, but they are given punishments when they disobey certain policies. Change motivation. Sometimes people do things just to bring about change within their immediate environment. Change motivation is often the cause of true progress. People just become tired of how things are and thus think of ways to improve it. Leadership. Leadership is less about your needs and more about the needs of the people and the organization that you are leading. Leadership styles are not something to be tried on. Rather, they should be adapted to the particular demands of the situation, the particular requirements of the people involved, and the particular challenges facing the organization. Leadership is the process of influencing the behavior of others to work willingly and enthusiastically for achieving predetermined goals. It is an essential ingredient for successful organization. The successful organization has one major attribute that sets it apart from unsuccessful organization, that is dynamic and effective leadership. In the book Primal Leadership, Daniel Goleman, who popularized the notion of emotional intelligence, describes 6 different styles of leadership. The most effective leaders can move among these styles, adopting the one that meets the needs of the moment. They can also become part of the leadership's repertoire. According to George R. Terry, leadership is essentially a continuous process of influencing behavior. The leader breathes life into the group and motivates it towards the goals. The lukewarm desires for achievement are transformed into burning passion for accomplishment. Let's discuss about the leadership styles. Leadership styles can be identified by their style characteristics, an implicit leadership philosophy, and a set of management skills typical of each style. Leadership style characteristics describe the emphasis a leader places on performance and people. Leadership philosophy describes an implicit leadership philosophy based primarily on a leader's assumptions about people and the role of a leader. Some prominent leadership styles are visionary. This style is most appropriate when an organization needs a new direction. Its goal is to move people towards a new set of shared dreams. Visionary leaders articulate where a group is going, but not how it will get there, setting people free to innovate, experiment, take calculated risks. Write Mr. Goleman and his co-authors. Coaching. This one-on-one style focuses on developing individuals, showing them how to improve their performance, and helping to connect their goals to the goals of the organization. Coaching works best, Mr. Goleman writes, with employees who show initiative and want more professional development. But it can backfire if it is perceived as micromanaging an employee and undermines his or her self-confidence. Affiliative. This style emphasizes the importance of teamwork and creates harmony in a group by connecting people to each other. Mr. Goleman argues this approach is particularly valuable when trying to heighten team harmony, increase morale, improve communication, or repair broken trust in an organization. But he warns against using it alone since its emphasis on group praise can allow poor performance to go uncorrected. Employees may perceive, he writes, that mediocrity is tolerated. Democratic. This style draws on people's knowledge and skills and creates a group commitment to the resulting goals. It works best when the direction the organization should take is unclear and the leader needs to tap the collective wisdom of the group. Mr. Goleman warns that this consensus building approach can be disastrous in times of crisis when urgent events demand quick decisions. Pace setting. In this style, the leader sets high standards for performance. He or she is obsessive about doing things better and faster and asks the same of everyone. But Mr. Goleman warns this style should be used sparingly because it can undercut morale and make people feel as if they are failing. Our data shows that more often than not, pace setting poisons the climate, he writes. Commanding. This is classic model of military style leadership. Probably the most often used but the least often effective because it rarely involves praise and frequently employs criticism. It undercuts morale and job satisfaction. Mr. Goleman argues it is only effective in crisis when an urgent turnaround is needed. Even the modern military has come to recognize its limited usefulness. Leadership and management. Leadership and management must go hand in hand. They are not the same thing, but they are necessarily linked and complementary. Any effort to separate the two is likely to cause more problems than it solves. Still, much ink has been spent delineating the differences. The manager's job is to plan, organize, and coordinate. The leader's job is to inspire and motivate. In his 1989 book on becoming a leader, Warren Bennis composed a list of the differences. The manager administers, whereas the leader innovates. The manager is a copy, the leader is an original. The manager maintains, the leader develops. The manager focuses on system and structure, the leader focuses on people. The manager relies on control, the leader inspires trust. The manager has a short-range view, the leader has a long-range perspective. The manager asks how and when, the leader asks what and why. The manager has his or her eye always on the bottom line, the leader's eye is on the horizon. The manager imitates, the leader originates. The manager accepts the status quo, the leader challenges it. The manager is the classic good soldier and the leader is his or her own person. The manager does things right, the leader does the right thing. Perhaps there was a time when the calling of the manager and that of the leader could be separated. A foreman in an industrial era factory probably didn't have to give much thought to what he was producing or to the people who were producing it. His or her job was to follow orders, organize the work, assign the right people to the necessary tasks, coordinate the results, and ensure the job got done as ordered. The focus was basically on efficiency. But in the new economy, where value comes increasingly from the knowledge of people and where workers are no longer undifferentiated cogs in an industrial machine, management and leadership are not easily separated. People look to their managers not just to assign them a task, but to define for them a purpose. And managers must organize workers not just to maximize efficiency, but to nurture skills, develop talents, and inspire results. The late management guru, Peter Drucker, was one of the first to recognize this truth, as he was to recognize so many other management truths. He identified the emergence of the knowledge worker and the profound differences that would cause in the way business was organized. With the rise of the knowledge worker, one does not manage people, Mr. Drucker wrote. The task is to lead people, and the goal is to make productive the specific strengths and knowledge of every individual. Conclusion. In this session, we discussed about motivation, its related theories, its importance, and its types. We also discussed about the leadership process, its types, and also listed the difference between leadership and management. Motivation is said to be the driving force within individuals produced by a state of tension caused by unfulfilled needs and wants. Individuals strive to reduce this tension through appropriate behavior that they expect will satisfy their needs. Much depends on individual thinking and learning in selecting the goals and the patterns of behavior that they believe will satisfy their needs. Whether an individual's need is fulfilled, leading to reduction of tension, depends on the course of action the individual takes. Leadership is less about your needs and more about the needs of the people and the organization you are leading. Leadership styles are not something to be tried on like so many suits to see which fits. Rather, they should be adapted to the particular demands of the situation, the particular requirements of the people involved, and the particular challenges facing the organization. Leadership is the process of influencing the behavior of others to work willingly and enthusiastically for achieving predetermined goals. It is an essential ingredient for successful organization. Thank you.